This episode of the What's Happening Delco podcast is brought to you by Delco Meets for Business. Check us out on Meetup, register, and attend one of our fantastic networking meetings, which we meet on the first and third Thursday at the Brick House in Ridley Park and the second and fourth Thursday at the Upper Crust in Newtown Square. We look forward to seeing you there. What's happening, Delco? I'm Rich Shane, and welcome to the What's Happening Delco podcast. Today, I'm joined by James Grugan of 5-Star Hiring. James, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. So, James, 5-Star Hiring, what do you do?
So we are a staffing agency located out of Ridley Park. We primarily focus on placing former student athletes, help them as they transition from their playing career to the professional career. But we're certainly not limited to that. You know, we place in all sorts of verticals at all levels, from entry to director level. But our primary focus is transitioning student athletes into the corporate world.
Focusing on student athletes, what is it about the student athlete that 5-Star Hiring looks to work with and specialize in?
Well, you know, Richard, I think that there's a unique skill set that's possessed by student athletes that are directly transferable to any role in really any organization. And the primary skill sets that I look to identify that are going to bring immediate value to organizations are the time management, the work ethic, their teamwork, their communication skills, and their motivation. These are skills that student athletes possess that make them desirable candidates. When you have these skill sets, they're not just something, particularly on the entry level side, Richard, that isn't just merely learned in a classroom. This is kind of battle tested, proven skill sets that I feel and have shown over time in placing student athletes that they're going to make a direct, immediate impact on an organization.
Is there an industry, is there a profession that the student athlete transitions to better? Or is it just, as you pointed out, their work ethic, their skill set that makes them ready and prepared for that job that they're applying for?
I think it's anything. I like to give the example of, if you're familiar with Dr. Myron Rolle, he was a former athlete. And he actually attributes a lot of his current success as a neurosurgeon to his athletic career. Just things like working well with others, being able to make decisions quickly, make decisions under duress in fast-paced, high-volume environments. So certainly, if it can transition to success as a neurosurgeon, I don't think that there's many other professions that would be excluded.
James, what can people expect when they work with 5-Star Hiring, rather the candidate side or the employer side?
Well, I can, I'll speak to both really with the same answer. I say this to both my candidates and my clients up front. You're going to get somebody who, the two things I promise to every one of my candidates and my employers is transparency and accessibility. I'm going to give you feedback on the candidate side. I'm going to give you feedback immediately as I get it from the organization. And I'm going to be transparent as far as, where they are in the process, who else is in the process, what the pipeline may look like, all those kind of things. And same with my clients. I'm going to, tell them what they're getting from a candidate. As far as their skill set, why they want to be there, maybe where they came from. And just really, Richard, as I go through life, those are skills or qualities that I think have served me well, being transparent and being accessible. People want to know that they're working with somebody, that they can trust.
It's April of 2023 as we're recording the podcast. What is the job industry? What is the employment industry? What does it look like right now?
To me, it's a lot of companies are starting to slowly come out of the recession, if you will. There seemed to be a bit of a pause on hiring that started at the end of last year. The companies are starting to now come out of and starting to gain a little bit of steam and a little bit of momentum. I've added, one or two jobs almost per week the last 2 weeks. So I'm kind of confident with where the job market is, and I'm looking forward to the second half of this year.
If you're a candidate interviewing, what is it you feel that are some of those natural qualities and abilities that employers are gravitating towards?
I think as far as something natural would be confidence. I think an employer wants to know that they're getting somebody who's confident in their ability. One, because they're going to be able to just perform, what they're hired to do. But also, they're going to be looking to take on new challenges, looking to grow and, quote unquote, climb the corporate ladder. And a lot of that comes with being confident, because somebody who's extremely confident isn't likely to be content.
I mean, you talk about confidence and taking on new challenges. That fits perfectly in that set of working with somebody that's coming out of athletics and, the resiliency of the day-to-day challenges of, take a baseball player. You're successful if you hit 3 times out of 10. That's a great career for somebody. When you say, from athletics and transitioning from that's high school and college, university. True?
True. Yes. Primarily, the jobs that I get are for require a college degree. So primarily college athletics, but I have worked, because I think a lot of the things that we talked on, and I'm glad you kind of brought up adversity, because that's actually a big one that kind of falls under resiliency, right? A lot of those skill sets are kind of born, if you will, at the high school level, but they're really magnified to be able to continue it at the collegiate level, particularly the first two, time management and work ethic. Only 7% of high school athletes play collegiate athletics. So those first two are really kind of what separates that other, those from the other 93%. But I will work with candidates who did play high school athletics, and for one reason or another did not play at the collegiate level. Some have the skill set to play, but just choose to focus more on the academic side of things to prepare for life. But a lot of those same skill sets are already embedded in their DNA, because they've learned them, playing sports from an early age through high school.
5-star hiring. How did you come to this industry, this world where you're helping people connect and solve problems, find solutions to people's employment needs?
You keep taking the words right out of my mouth. First it was adversity, now it's helping. So I was at my old company. I spent my whole career with one company. I was there for 25 years. And for the better part of the last 5 years was in staffing and recruiting. And it's extremely rewarding, helping somebody land a job, particularly, their first job out of high school, because, that's a pivotal moment in somebody's life. You're really kind of starting them on that path. So it's extremely rewarding to have a part in that. And I found that it was something that I was really enjoyed and was passionate about. However, I was kind of limited in that capacity, in that there was really only kind of one opportunity that I was able to afford people. And I thought that if I were able to kind of go out on my own, I would be able to help more people and put them in different areas where I wasn't limited to just one profession.
How do people contact you? How do people connect with you?
I'm very active on social media, and it's at 5-star hiring on everything. It's at 5-star hiring on LinkedIn. It's at 5-star hiring on Twitter and Instagram, as well as TikTok. I have a YouTube channel. All of those, like I said, are 5-star hiring. And my website is 5starhiring.net.
3 tips. Somebody comes to you and they say, I'm graduating or have graduated. I'm looking for that first job. What are 3 tips you'll give people right off the bat to get them on the road to success?
Okay. 3 tips. Hopefully they come to me prior to graduating, because I think it's something that if you start looking for a job when you need one, it's kind of a little too late, right? So I guess that's a free tip, start early. But the 3 tips that I would give them would be network. Networking is huge in anything, not only in finding a job, but in continuing to grow in your profession. And by networking, what I really mean is not only tapping into your current network, but grow your current network, whether that be on social media, try and be active there, particularly LinkedIn when we're talking about jobs. Get active on there, again, now, not when you need it. And for the younger kids, for those getting ready to graduate, what I mean by networking is expand kind of who you're talking to. Be willing to have those conversations. You mentioned baseball, right? Say you're a baseball player and you come home for spring break or Christmas break, whatever the case may be, and you kind of are at those family gatherings and you want to gravitate towards that conversation that is going to be comfortable, right? Who's going to talk about baseball and those kind of things. Step outside of that. Talk to a family member or a friend of a family member or somebody like that who you don't know, and find out what they do, what their profession is. That person that you've been reluctant to speak with could perhaps be the director of marketing at a large local company, and you're a marketing major. And if you don't have that conversation, that's a missed opportunity. So the more that you network, the more that you can create opportunities. The second thing would be a little further in the process, is preparing for the job interview. You have to be prepared for the job interview. And the number one way to do that is kind of like we talked about, is doing your research, learning about the individual that you're interviewing with, as well as the company. Social media is a great way to do that. Their website is a great way to do that. And it's really going to kind of allow you to go into the interview much like you would go into a game, with a game plan. And that's going to come across in the interview, and it's going to allow you to be received well by the interviewer, because again, you're prepared. Preparation breeds confidence. And then the third thing that I would say to a recent grad or a soon-to-be grad who's looking to kind of get into the job market, is be open-minded. You never know what is going to kind of strike your passion. So be willing to kind of not limit yourself to kind of a little box. Really explore the job market and find something that you're passionate about. I firmly believe that if you're chasing your passion, you're much more likely to have success than if you're chasing a paycheck.
I think those are great tips, great foundations for anyone. I mean, like I said, it's April. People graduating right now, start now, get in touch with James of 5-Star Hiring so you can achieve that first successful job in that career you're passionate about and you want to be a part of. James, what motivates you? What gets you out of bed every morning?
Richard, I think there's a couple things. We talked about helping people, and certainly that's a big part of what I do. I really enjoy helping people. We've said here several times to reach out to me. I've had countless conversations with soon-to-be and recent grads that don't really necessarily land a placement for me, but it certainly, I believe, helps them in their process and prepares them for job interviews. So if I can help somebody in any way and pass along any knowledge that I have, I'm more than happy to do that. That's a passion of mine. And the other thing, Richard, is really just to be successful, I spent a lot of time that you could maybe say wasted time, although I'm not sure anything's truly wasted, because you are, your experiences. But right before starting 5-Star Hiring, I got sober. And during that process, as you can imagine, it's a life-changing process. And prior to that, I spent a lot of time just shy of self-loathing, a lot of self-deprecation. And now, I realized that there's so much more, and there's so much more that I have to offer. And I'm really just motivated by success to prove to not only to myself, that success is there for me and it's achievable, and I'm living it, every day. But for anybody else who may have similar struggles, similar demons, similar thought patterns, you're getting in your own way, and success is possible. I wake up every day. I write down first my calendar, my schedule for the day, and then I follow that with 3 thoughts of affirmation, which lead me to know and believe that success is possible.
You become a mentor to so many people. Who mentors you? Who inspires you?
Without naming names, a big inspiration for me, one along those lines, was my counselor when I was in rehab. She actually told me something that really, really stuck with me, and it's humbling, that for whatever reason, people tend to gravitate to me. And I have that ability, like you said, to mentor and motivate people. And if I can balance that and not let it get in the way of my own recovery and journey, then it's a very powerful tool. So that message was very inspiring. And then individually, who inspires me is, Brian McCann is a lifelong friend of mine, a business partner, very much like an older brother. And then my former CEO at J.G. Wentworth, Michael Goodman, is a very inspiring figure in my life, somebody who kind of shows me the way. I'm always accessible to him, which is, something that's truly gratifying for somebody as successful as him, to make the time to speak with me is something that I truly value. And also, probably last one, I don't want to go on too long here, is Keith Mayer, who was my boss for a very, very long time at J.G. Wentworth, and then actually left a few years before I did and got into this same profession. So he's somebody that throughout my life I've been able to rely on for inspiration and motivation and guidance, and I've been able to continue that once we kind of were no longer working together. We still stayed very close.
What is very resounding to me, James, is that you walk the talk. Everything you said, as far as how you help people, the ideas, tips, ways to get to where you want to go, you're the example. So if somebody really wants to have that path made easier for them, not easy, just easier, you're going to have struggles. We're all going to have struggles. But somebody like you, if you come into their life, you're going to say, hey, these are the markers. These are the signposts. This is where you should be yielding. This is where you should speed up, slow down. These are examples that you experience in your life where you can help guide people and talk about success. You're going to help them be successful. And that's certainly going to resonate with you, isn't it?
Very much so. I mean, it's really, I don't want to overuse the word, but it's humbling to even hear you say that. I struggle with those flattering terms such as, motivator and inspirational and things like that. If I can be that for someone, great. But it's not something that I dwell on. I look at it more of a byproduct of just being who I am.
We need more byproducts of who people are, because you're living the example, not trying to live up to somebody else's example. So you're from Delco. You mentioned Ridley Park. Where are you going for a cheesesteak?
First, I need to clarify. I always say I live in Delco. I have very strong Southwest Philly roots. So that's where I'm from. And to answer your question, there's a place in Essington on 291, Family Style. Family Style has the best cheesesteaks around here.
All right. You're going out and you decide you have a craving for pizza. Where are you heading for pizza?
I was hoping you would ask that after you did the cheesesteak. Far and away, Emilio's Pizza on McDade Boulevard is the best pizza in Delaware County. It's actually not even close.
What about a convenience store option? You're heading to that employer, you're going for that first meeting, but you need to stop off. Are you going to Royal Farms or are you going to Wawa?
I'm a big Wawa guy, but since we are here promoting local business, I got to give a shout out to Pike's Cold Cuts on Chester Pike. I'm in there a few times a week.
My favorite part of the podcast is when my guests hijack the podcast and make their own podcast out of it. So to those in the Pikes, shout out to them. Thanks for introducing us to Pikes. You mentioned, hey, you're a South Philly guy, right?
Southwest.
Southwest. Oh, I don't want to leave the Southwest out.
Sorry.
You're a Southwest Philly guy. How do you explain Delco to people that have either never been here or just don't know Delco?
Oof. That's a tough one, but I guess for me, what it's been is community. You find so many people are willing to help, to get involved, to give you a shout out, to reference you to a friend. And it's really, if you kind of stick around and get involved, I'm heavily involved in Little League and coaching and those kind of things. And you find people in the community who have similar interest and want to strengthen the community through friendships, through partnerships, and through getting involved and giving it back, leaving it better than we found it.
Okay, so after you have them attend a Little League game, watching you coach and mentor, you want to give somebody that Delco experience. Either you want to take them somewhere or you want to just send them somewhere in Delco. What experience for Delco are you giving them?
I'm going to kind of step out of character here a little bit, I guess, because I did talk about my sobriety, and that's something that's very important to me. But let's be honest, the other side of that is a big part of the Delco experience. So I would send them to Haggerty's Cafe.
Haggerty's Cafe. James, is there anything we haven't spoken about, anything we haven't talked about on the podcast that you'd like our listeners to know about you or 5-Star Hiring?
No, I think that you did a very good job. You're clearly not your first podcast. You touched on a lot of the things that enabled me to kind of speak about my business at 5-Star Hiring and what we do and how we help people. What I guess I would say is, for a small business, social media is extremely powerful, and anybody listening who happens to come across this, just like a little thing which takes no time or effort, as along the lines of like a like or a share, really goes a long way in helping promote somebody's business. And it may seem, innocuous, but it does, it means a lot to the business owner. And it's powerful. The grassroots is real, and it helps to grow businesses.
Well, after somebody listens to this podcast, give us a 5-star rating, like, and share the podcast so more people can learn about 5-star hiring and what you do, James, we met at Delco Meets for Business, and you'll find Delco Meets for Business on Meetup, Delco Meets for Business. But we meet Thursdays throughout Delco. Look us up. And hey, this is how we connected. Networking, as you touched upon on the podcast. And we'd like to help you, anyone, grow their business and put people in contact with like-minded business owners. James, thanks for being a friend of What's Happening Delco. Thanks for being on the podcast today. And we look forward to all the successes, all the things, all the lives that you get to change in your world. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah, Rich, thank you so much for having me on. It really was a pleasure. And thank you for everything that you do for the community, not only this podcast, but the Delco Meets group. It's been extremely beneficial, not only to myself, but to the dozens of other members who attend your events. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.